Pelosi says it is hogwash that she set the precedent now where you don't need to have a vote to open an impeachment inquiry. Play one.
Speaker McCarthy made the argument the other day that, well, Nancy Pelosi set this precedent. She waited a long time to have a vote on the first impeachment of Donald Trump. You did hold a vote, we should add, but he said you made the rules and he's just following them now by not holding this initial vote for an impeachment inquiry. What do you say to that?
I say that that's hogwash. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I don't know why the press keeps repeating it. The fact is, we said we were going to, I assigned my committee chairs, 6 of them, to develop the facts, because you have to act upon the facts. That's a strange thing to say maybe around here, but you have to act upon the facts. We had a couple of weeks of doing that, a few weeks of doing that, and 3 or 4 weeks, we then prepared to bring the bill to the floor.
All right, Clay, here she is in October of 2019. The same Nancy Pelosi, from what we know. Here she is. Play it.
As the distinguished chairman said, there's no requirement that we have a vote. And so at this time, we will not be having a vote. And I'm very pleased with the thoughtfulness of our caucus in terms of being supportive of the path that we are on, in terms of fairness, in terms of seeking the truth, in terms of upholding the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, Clay, not only is she making it up about what she used to say, as we know this is common for Democrats, she's the one who really pushed for, remember, 2 impeachments of Trump. Impeachment is just effectively a vote of parliamentary no confidence now. It's just, I don't like you.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, it's a censure moment. And you can argue about whether or not you wanted to see impeachment devalued in this way, but Democrats did it by impeaching Trump twice, particularly for the Ukraine situation. I mean, if anything, we should be honoring Trump for asking the questions that he did about Ukraine that continue to come out associated with Joe Biden. And in fact, the irony here, to the extent you want to point out an irony, is Trump got impeached for asking about what Joe Biden did. Think about how crazy that is. The first impeachment over the Ukrainian phone call, they impeached Donald Trump for asking about what Joe Biden did. I mean, that is remarkable on its face when you contemplate that Trump was punished more significantly for asking about what Joe Biden did than Joe Biden has been for what he actually did.
It's also worth reminding everybody that Biden, in that now infamous audio, it's been around for years, but where he says, son of a gun, the prosecutor got fired, that whole thing. Remember that. Biden there was explicitly admitting to a quid pro quo, as we know now, to fire a prosecutor who posed a threat to the company that was paying his son $80,000 a month. I mean, that's what actually happened. Trump was impeached for asking his counterpart, Trump was president, he asked his counterpart, Zelensky of Ukraine, to look into what was criminal conduct. And that was the basis for an impeachment, not just an inquiry, an actual impeachment vote to be held. So you look at this, you say, which one is more egregious?
No, and look, I think the ultimate impact of this is the reason why impeachment needs to happen is, Buck, I was actually impressed by this. I try to look on the bright side, as a lot of you out there listening know. 61% of people in the CNN poll believe that Joe Biden was involved in Hunter Biden's business dealings. 61%. 64%, I believe, of independents believe it. 42% overall of voters believe that Joe Biden has behaved in a criminal fashion. You and I made this point, and I think it's important. Everyone out there listening thinks that the January 6th political hearings were a total sham and we didn't learn anything new. And that's true. But they put them on primetime and they managed to motivate and move a relatively small number of people to be willing to vote based on democracy and danger. That's the truth. If Republicans hold these hearings, Buck, even if there's nothing new developed, and I think there's likely to still be some new evidence developed, but if they just hold the hearings, forcing the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, and MSNBC to cover the hearings will put some of these allegations for the first time in front of those audiences. Remember, this is an important fact. Over half of Democrats still believe the Hunter Biden laptop is Russian disinformation. Think about that for a minute. A huge percentage of the American public doesn't know the truth about the Hunter Biden laptop. These hearings might cut through some of those noise, and the numbers are already starting to move in our direction. So from a political perspective, I think it puts the truth, which is Biden's criminal, legitimate, very strong evidentiary basis for him to be charged with crimes and or investigated for crimes. It puts it in front of an audience that still doesn't know any of this is true.
But I asked this question that does not have an answer, but I think we should be thinking about how does this will cut through the media news cycle under normal circumstances. How does this impeachment inquiry do in an environment where there are 4 criminal trials looming of the other guy? And there's not an answer, but I think it's something to keep in mind here that the expectation, you see what I'm saying?
It's a great question. And my thought on this, Buck, is, and this is where I keep coming back to what I think the race is, if it's Trump Biden, I think it's basically most people who are persuadable are going to say a pox on both their houses. If you're middle of the road now, again, middle of the road, I think you say Biden's corrupt, and I think you say Trump's corrupt. You're just like, you're done with politicians. You just want to throw the whole lot of them out. I think that benefits Trump. And Buck, the reason why I think that benefits Trump is Biden ran in 2020 as I am pure as newfound snow. It's a BS, right? I have to be careful not to curse, but it's BS. But enough people bought the idea, I'll just restore decency and decorum and sanctity and honor to the White House. And now I think a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, you are super dirty. I think it takes that off the table, and then it comes back to, Buck, Biden's old versus Trump's criminal trials. And I think Trump wins that.
I also think that people remember that Joe Biden was going on TV giving speeches with red lighting in the background, flanked by Marines, where he was talking about how if you don't get a shot that doesn't stop the spread anyway, you're a murderer, and society should be afraid of you. I hope people remember that anytime they think about whether he's a uniter. It's honestly the most outrageous and scariest speech I have seen from a sitting president. I don't think there's anything that really comes close.